Wild boars, monstrous beasts weighing up to 300 pounds with razor-sharp tusks. They tear through pastures, attack people and livestock, and cause millions of dollars in damage each year. Traps and fences are useless against these relentless invaders. There's only one way to stop them: hunt them down right to their lairs in the treacherous swamps. And only the toughest hunters dare to face them head-on. So who will survive this brutal battle? Follow the heart-pounding pursuit right now. This hunt is more dangerous than ever. We're venturing deep into the territory of these beasts where they hide skillfully in the dense forest. To avoid ambush, we've brought along a pack of well-trained hunting dogs. They track swiftly and alert us the moment prey is near. In this mission, our dogs are not just trackers, they're our eyes, our ears, and our first line of defense. Today, I'm heading into a particularly treacherous area with Bernie, where towering grass provides perfect cover for wild boars. The team split up and moved into our assigned positions. After just 10 minutes of searching, the hunting dogs began barking furiously inside the thicket. We locked our eyes on the direction of the noise, tracking every movement. Suddenly, a massive wild boar burst out of the grass, charging straight toward Bernie. Wasting no time, we took our shot. The shots rang out in rapid succession, and the boar collapsed into the tall grass. After that breathless skirmish, we quickly moved on to track the next targets. In the distance, the figures of wild boars emerged, slowly roaming through thick patches of grass in search of food. We didn't fire right away. Instead, we hid carefully in the bushes, waiting for them to come closer. Then, gunshots rang out across the swamp. Each one was swift and accurate, taking down the ferocious beast. This place is a true haven for wild boars, with an abundance of food all around. Just 15 minutes in, Silas had already spotted his target. It burst out from the towering reeds, but quickly collapsed, unable to escape after Silas's precise shot. We picked a good vantage point and used binoculars to scout the area there. They were a herd of wild boars foraging on the forest floor, completely unaware of what they approached. Perfect shot. A thunderous bang echoed, and one boar dropped instantly. The rest scattered in panic, fleeing into the bush. Deep within the stillness of the palm thickets, Bernie was quietly tracking a separate target. The boar emerged from behind a palm. Trunk Bernie raised his rifle, took careful aim, and pulled the trigger. Perfect. A precise shot, the boar collapsed on the spot, without a chance to react. One shot was all it took to bring it down. The swamp terrain here is truly treacherous, riddled with dangers we usually try to avoid. Wild boars used to be part of the untamed wilderness, but in recent years, they've bred at an alarming rate and quickly become a nightmare for the people of Colorado. From the forest edges, they've started appearing in large numbers across the fields, devastating crops, and causing increasingly severe damage. Faced with this reality, hunting is no longer just a sport. It has become a mission to protect the land, the crops, and the livelihoods of local people. Today's hunt was carefully planned, from weapons and ammunition to the hunting dogs. We began moving into an area frequently visited by wild boars, our heartbeats taut like drawn strings. Ahead of us lay a freshly harvested field, completely open and expansive, an ideal feeding ground for wild boars, but also perfect for an ambush. With nothing to obstruct the view, the first target soon appeared. A lone boar trotted along the edge of the field. I raised my gun. Took careful aim and pulled the trigger. After a few gunshots, the boar was hit and collapsed on the spot. The early success lifted our spirits, but to encounter more targets, we had to redirect toward the hilly area behind the field, where the rugged terrain showed heavy signs of wild boar activity. As soon as we arrived, I chose a high, open vantage point for better visibility. Oof. It didn't take long before the next target appeared. It dashed down a slope, tried to escape into a dense thicket below. Without hesitation, I raised my rifle, timed my shot, and squeezed the trigger. A volley of shots rang out. The boar was hit and rolled down the hill. After about an hour, we decided to move into a lower, flatter area to improve our chances of spotting targets from afar. The pack of hunting dogs now truly showed their value. With fewer obstacles in the terrain, they easily picked up scents and chased down prey. However, with sparse trees and fewer hiding spots, we hunters had to be extremely cautious and absolutely silent. Wild boars are incredibly alert. If we didn't stay well hidden, they could easily detect our presence and flee immediately. I spotted another boar. It charged out from the edge of a bush, only about 5 meters from my ambush spot. The situation was sudden and intense. I immediately raised my rifle and fired. A clean shot. The boar was hit, crashed into the dirt, and dust exploded into the air. Through the cloud, the boar lay motionless. The whole moment lasted only a few seconds, but it felt as tense as a confrontation with a fierce predator. The hunt wasn't over yet. Sensing a rare opportunity, I quickly raised my rifle and fired. The bullet struck straight into its neck. The boar staggered and collapsed to the ground without any chance to fight back. By afternoon, this time, I stationed myself at the edge of a bush, firmly gripping my rifle, eyes scanning for the slightest movement, ready for anything unexpected. Luckily, this ambush paid off with a generous reward. Time was running out for the day, so we made every minute count. Staying calm, I stepped back to maintain a safe distance, then raised my rifle and fired. A precise shot, the boar dropped instantly. After years of trekking through the wilderness and facing countless intense hunts, I thought I was well acquainted with the dangers of the wild. But with the wild boar population rising at an alarming rate, we couldn't help but feel concerned. These animals have become more aggressive, frequently destroying crops and threatening the livelihoods of local residents. Responding to a call from local authorities, we once again set off, driven by a shared mission to restore peace to this land. By late afternoon, we arrived at a swampy area bordering a field, a notorious haven for crop-raiding wild boars. We had already scattered bait to lure them in. Tempted by the irresistible scent, the boars began to emerge, growing in number. Every movement they made fell directly into our line of sight. From a high lookout post, my teammate carefully adjusted his rifle, locked on his target, and pulled the trigger. The surprise shot landed perfectly. The boar collapsed instantly. In a nearby hunting blind, Henry and I were set up with our gear, patiently waiting. After nearly 20 minutes, shadows began to stir. More boars had arrived. We instantly locked eyes onto them through our scopes, tracking every subtle move. When the boars let their guard down, a burst of gunfire ripped through the still evening air. One boar dropped immediately, a flawless shot after such intense anticipation. The rush of success was overwhelming. Pride and joy lit up our faces. It was nearly dark when we prepared to head home, but then we spotted another group of wild boars foraging quietly in an open area. We moved quickly into position, rifles raised, eyes focused. I picked my target and gave a short call to grab its attention. The moment it paused, I fired. The bullet tore through the air and struck it cleanly. Despite a panicked attempt to flee, it only managed a few unsteady steps before collapsing. We returned to the hunting ground as planned. Suddenly, a shadow crept in from the distance, weaving through the grass ahead. I quickly raised my rifle, steadied my hands, and took aim. Even from that far away, my shot was precise, landing a direct hit that dropped the boar instantly. Fresh from our recent success, we headed toward a nearby clearing in search of another opportunity. And there they were. The boars were right in front of us. Seizing the moment, my buddy moved forward carefully, every step measured to avoid making a sound. Then, boom, a single thunderous shot echoed, signaling another triumphant moment in our hunting journey. The deep tracks pressed into the muddy ground were unmistakable. Wild boars had definitely been here. They had clearly been foraging nearby and hadn't gone far. And just as we expected, one appeared before us, peeking out from behind a tree, oblivious to the danger. I took shooting stance, calmly pulled the trigger, and in an instant, it went down, likely never realizing what hit it. We use a variety of strategies to hunt wild boars, including waiting silently from high up in the trees. The bait we placed below worked like a charm, drawing one boar in for a feast. While I was still distracted, Kane, perched above, took a bold, precise shot. The boar screamed in pain, staggered a few steps, then crumpled to the ground. And just like that, our adventure comes to an end.
For the past 2 weeks, villagers in a rural region of Turkey have been constantly complaining about wild boars destroying their crops and even attacking livestock at night. Despite trying various traditional methods, the problem persisted. Faced with this urgent situation, our hunting team teamed up with the locals to take action. And so began the chase for these destructive invaders. This would be our first ambush of the day. We had just gotten into position when the first dark shapes started to emerge from the distance. Startled by the gunshot, the boar bolted, crashing through the underbrush trying to escape. After several more rounds, it finally collapsed onto the forest floor, and I couldn't help but celebrate the moment. Following that first success, our team advanced up the mountain slope. immediately got into position, constantly adjusting our scopes as the herd moved unpredictably through the rough terrain. The first shots were fired from a considerable distance, a real challenge. But thanks to sharp focus and accurate shooting, we managed to bring down several targets in the blink of an eye. We had only moved a short distance when suddenly, another familiar silhouette appeared. The moment it poked out from the brush,
Ify red, quick, clean,
and precise. Not far from there,
another wild boar darted out.
I stood my ground, gripped the rifle tightly, and opened fire. Unfortunately, my first shot missed.
J20 de animal a chance tout sprint away.
Luckily, my hunting partner had been waiting further down the slope. Right beside us, another friend fired and sent a second boar tumbling to the ground. The loud barking of our hunting dogs led us to another boar trying to hide. But this one wouldn't go down easy.
Le VN d'instinct driven.
It slipped through narrow gaps and dense foliage. Our team opened fire, but the boar kept weaving through the undergrowth.
Toute manœuvrine et vribulet. In the end, the herd managed to escape,
leaving us behind, frustrated and regretful. We pressed on over rugged, rocky trails, making our way toward the mountain peak. Scanning the landscape ahead, we spotted a herd of boars charging downhill. Determined not to let them get away, we quickly spread out and blocked off key escape routes. As soon as the boars broke from the trees, my buddy and I opened fire,
letting off a storm of bullets.
Despite their frantic dash, two of them fell almost instantly. We were certain more wild boars were still hiding nearby. The team kept searching. Suddenly, under fierce pursuit by our dogs, a huge boar burst from the bushes, startling everyone. But this was no ordinary prey. It was strong, fast, and surprisingly agile. One final burst, then it collapsed in the middle of the forest, bringing an end to a truly intense encounter.
In Georgia, when you hear dogs howling at night, you know it's either thieves or wild boars are back. But this time, I wasn't going to wait for them to destroy more. These boars had grown bolder, even coming close to houses in broad daylight. This wasn't for sport anymore. If we didn't hunt, there would be nothing left to harvest next season. So I gathered a few folks, brought hunting dogs, and a few rifles, and we headed into the woods at the crack of dawn. Wild boars are most active from dusk until nightfall. So at the start of the day, I spent over an hour wandering through the forest before spotting the first targets. 3 boars were quietly weaving through tall, leafless trees. I raised my gun, aimed with precision, and fired several shots in a row. Each one hit a target. Not a single boar escaped. With a smooth start, morale soared. Wild boar hunting is a game of patience and focus. Every sense must stay alert so that when the moment comes, you seize it and pull the trigger. Success doesn't just come from the gun. It comes from the hunter's calm and persistence. With that mindset, we ventured deeper into the woods in search of the next target. After waiting for about half an hour, the dogs picked up a fresh scent. Two boars were hiding in a dense bush. One shot rang out, but it only struck one in the leg. The dogs weren't letting it go. They immediately gave chase. The wounded boar couldn't run far and was quickly surrounded. I set up an ambush near a forest trail. Suddenly, a jet black boar burst from the bushes and dashed across the path at incredible speed. I instinctively raised my rifle and fired several shots in quick succession, but unfortunately, it managed to escape. On the way out of the forest, we decided to linger in an open field, and luck was on our side. A herd of wild boars appeared out of nowhere. I quickly raised my gun, excitedly aiming for the biggest one near the end of the line. I waited for the right moment and pulled the trigger decisively. The boar dropped on the spot. Seeing the weather hadn't worsened, we decided to extend the hunt and headed for a different forest. There, I found a good ambush spot and waited. Soon, a new target appeared, a large boar. The moment it saw me, it ran. Despite their bulk, wild boars can run incredibly fast when threatened, up to 50 kilometers each. This makes them a formidable and elusive target. A single mistake, and the chance slips away. We continued toward an area with more boar tracks. With limited daylight left, every minute counted. After half an hour of waiting, a black silhouette appeared in the distance, moving toward me. I couldn't afford to miss it. I gripped the gun tight, locked onto the target, and pulled the trigger. The shot rang out, the boar collapsed. And just like that, a long day ended with words. We were exhausted, but everyone was satisfied. Out here in the deep woods, every hunt isn't just about survival or protecting crops. It's a lesson in patience and courage.